Good morning and good afternoon, everyone, depending on where you're joining us from, and welcome to today's webinar. My name is Peter Ture from Business Review, and I'll be your host today. It is our pleasure to have with us online trends in leasing by, in this case, Ailleron, who will be presenting us on the topic titled Lease Prospect Portal as a Key to Transformation of Sales Channels. Now, today's guest speakers of us will be Camille Portkar, who is the General Manager for BU LeaseTech at Ailleron. We also have with us Andrew, who will be the Business and Product Development for, in this case, Director at Business Units LeaseTech at Ailleron. Now, I'd like to welcome everyone here to On24. You notice that this platform is browser-based, so if you do disconnect for any reason whatsoever, please click on the link that you received via email to rejoin the session. In order to ask questions, you can send them in via the questions widget. That's the box at the top right-hand corner of your screen. Just type in your answer and click submit. We'll then allocate some time at the end of the session to address any thoughts or questions that you may have. Please also use the yellow help widget in case you need any further assistance to move, resize, and maximize any of the screens in front of you to help get a better view of today's session with Ailleron. For now, please allow me to hand it over to our first speaker of the day. Camille, over to you.
Thank you, Peter, for introduction. Good afternoon. It's Friday, late afternoon, so everybody's looking for the weekend. But until it happens, I will just bring you the main points of the agenda we prepared for today. So we'll discuss about 3 bullets. We'll start our discussion with how the leasing company should behave in the era of e-commerce expansion, how to make traditional leasing process more innovative, and of course, how our solution LeaseTech Prospect Portal can address all of these challenges that are brought together with the electronic leasing. And of course, to make it more, make a collaboration with you, we'll also make some kind of surveys in the middle of this webinar. At NDA, of course, we will ask any, we will answer all your questions you will ask during QA session. So okay, so let's start it with what was our inspiration to make such an event? It's actually I read a book a few years ago, Inevitable by Kevin Kelly. This is a book which describes how the technology will look like and would change the world in 2047. We may believe it or not, but sooner or later, we will face some of these predictions in reality. So we decided to organize this webinar and share our ideas and open a discussion with you how the future of our leasing industry will look like. And of course, at the end, we will tell you a few words about our solution and what impact it might have on your leasing business if you run such a business. And of course, I hope you will enjoy it. What we can observe, especially during COVID pandemic, is that there is a great boost in e-commerce. At the same time, most of our clients and customers have the problem that they are experiencing a great boost in their sales at the moment. So this is also a problem from that. This is, brings us a very tough question to answer. Why should we provide changes when the business grows very well and everything is fine? What should we make any effort to compete on the unknown market, as we described e-commerce? Okay, maybe I will pass the voice to Andrzej. Maybe you have some kind of idea.
Thanks. Good afternoon, everyone. So one of the reasons is that the generation is changing. As you see, another group of consumers is coming into the market. We know it, we talk about it last few years, and know that they are on the site and on the employee service provider or service buyer. And with the development of the technology, this generation Z, who is familiar with it, are taking the initiative and pushing changes into this environment that also benefit the older but wealthier generations. Here in the leasing industry, this impact is also visible. The expectation of these consumers, they are mostly in e-commerce clients, is the less work, less data, online only, not only 8 hours a day, but 24/7, all year, moving more and more from B2C to B2B market. And it's also it's good to mention that this what worked, yes, the processes, habits of the last 25 years, especially in our industry, leasing industry, yes, will no longer work and will stop working faster than we expect. The last 2 years have further accelerated this change. Yes, COVID really accelerated. The dynamic growth that the leasing industry needs to meet, and of course the role of IT industry, our role is to support it, this change.
Well, this is a big challenge from the leasing company's perspective to face all of these requirements you briefly mentioned, especially towards customers from Generation Z. When we take a look at our old-fashioned process of financing, it has to be redesigned, and of course, new tools, IT tools, have to be implemented. And also, we have to think that now we are dealing with something else. We will probably never see a client in person when we do business totally online. And when it comes to the small ticket asset, the collection of this asset will be pointless, as the cost of this operation may be higher than the market value of the assets. So there's no point to collect them. And the leasing in this process is it's becoming more and more similar to consumer finance products, where the margins are very high of the financing, but it can cover, of course, the increasing risk of the unknown customer, and unknown future of the asset. But also the higher margin means higher profits. There is one company on Polish market which actually started selling leasing only in this e-commerce channel. Before they were sold to the other big company, leasing company, they became a leader in that segment, and it was the only segment they were active. It was one and only sales channel, and they didn't think about entering into new segments. But I don't see any reason why the leasing companies cannot follow them. Maybe Andrzej, you can see such.
We have to consider that the leasing is a very often the relationship business also, or perhaps more a chain of relationships. Yeah? It's not only a leasing company and vendor, or vendor client. It's leasing company to client directly. Yeah? And how to keep at least some of these connections in today's online world, yes, e-commerce world. It's a big challenge for all of us.
Well, it is. It's even a big challenge for us, but I think that every big project starts with a single step. So what we can do is to find the most critical block of the process on the process map and try to transform it into digital. Well, for me, it's very hard to imagine that you can completely go through the sales process via internet without electronic signature or without electronic leasing application or loan application. So I think we should start with that. Maybe the next step would be to implement some fast decision engines in order to make instant decision on very limited data provided by customers. And of course, some of the companies started doing the small steps small steps to big future, but they think also on implementing this upgraded processes in other business areas.
Yes,
Maybe I will pass the voice to the Peter, who can go through the quick survey, and we can just hear your voice. What is, from your perspective, this trend of the leasing? Okay, Peter, can I ask you?
Sure. Thank you very much, Camille. So, ladies and gentlemen, our first poll question of the day is, what do you think is the most important trend in e-leasing? So you've got a series of options here, from e-sign, cloud, cybersecurity. You've also got robotic process automation. You've also got economy sharing, online collaboration, eKYC, EID, or machine learning. So Camille, as well as Andrew, though, what was your motivation for this first poll question?
Well, we need to verify, because we always ask our customers what are the trends that we have to follow to address their needs. So my point of view, most of these points are very, very important, and it's very hard to have something, one thing, and forget about others. When it comes to the business in internet, the cybersecurity becomes very, very important. So in fact, it's something that is crucial here. But to support all these processes, you need, of course, robotic process automation. You have to communicate with customers online, for example, via chats. You have to provide electronic signature, and so on and so on. But let's ask our attendees. Maybe they will pick something that is the most crucial for them. This is very important for us.
Of course, yes, definitely, Camille. Okay. All right, so let's see how the audience has responded to this first question. So as we can see, it looks like there's an equal vote between robotic process automation and eKYC EID. Any thoughts on that, though, both Camille and Andrew?
Yes, also it's something yes. We'll talk about some of them. You pick. Of course, we have no time to talk about all of them. So we will move forward, and some of them I and Camille will mention about. Yeah. So of course we talk about this one of this is the pressure. Yeah, the pressure for all of those points, yes, and I try to go forward and try to talk about pressure from the internal areas, environment, and banks, a group of banks in financial institution, and about market pressure, and then about technology. And so about talking about pressure from banks, yes, which are putting on the leasing industry, yes, what they're doing to push leasing forward, yes, they are developing cross-sell products by spending their own and leasing products. Yes. They acquire young startups. This is one of the newest points. And they indirectly forced leasing companies to increase into supporting digital processes already presented in banking. We know it from our experience. Yes, it's online identification of customers, collection data, the signature, credit assessment, agency insurance services, deliver secured chat audio video communication tools. So it can be similar to leasing, because leasing is a kind of wealth management in corporate banking. So this high security level is here very important when we try to talk with the clients on the chat audio of the channel. And the pressure is also coming from the market. Looking not so far beyond the financial sector, yes, itself, banks are looking for the fintech sector. especially in the last 10 years. Yes, already a few years ago, various acceleration programs for startups focused on financial services appeared in most big banks. In Europe, we see it also in Poland, in the Polish banks or in the international banks in Poland. Yes. We don't see the direct impact on change, but it also mitigating potential competition where the most promising startups are acquired. Yes. Where possible and profitable banks are building product in marketplaces, automobile, remarketing, product, insurance, cashback, discount platforms. Yes, these segments linked to the cross-selling will continue to grow. And the next pressure is the technology. Yeah, I mean the cloud. Yes, if you want to enter fully to digital world, e-commerce, yes, or at least the digital transformation, yes, we cannot forget about the cloud, which allows these new tools to scale according to needs of growing business. In cases of new investments in online software, hardware is still somewhere behind. You know? Especially if business is designed with 24/7 access, then cloud is the right choice. We also in Ailleron see this opportunity, and we are making our existing products available on the cloud as a PaaS, platform as a service. And of course, we have new investments, and we are only thinking about software as a service according to our strategy.
Well, there's a huge difference between these models, and of course there is a huge difference between the application and how we produce them. Well, it's the biggest difference is between how the application is built. Is it a cloud native application or it's cloud ready application? When it comes to the cloud ready application, it's usually the stuff you can also put on your server on premise and run it anywhere. When we talk about cloud native, it's something more. Of course, both of them allows to use private or public cloud services, and of course to limit the cost of IT infrastructure. But the first one, I mean the cloud native application, is much more effective from the cost point of view. Well, on the other hand, that also allows to use certain cloud services that the most popular vendors like Amazon or Microsoft Azure or Google Cloud have their service portfolio. So in fact, we don't have to invent or build small of the services and put them in the cloud, but we can use already defined and tested and reliable parts of software, so we can put them like a blocks together and create fast and reliable applications. I could see that our attendees were very interested in KYC, so yes, we also plan to tell you a few words about it. So, of course, when it comes to business online, the identification remotely is crucial. If you want to build fully digital processes, it's mandatory. So we can observe also that banks, not only banks, but also many fintechs are real drivers when it comes to KYC tools. We can just give you some examples from our small Polish market, but we use penny payments, we use video verification by the agent. We also use biometrics engines to compare the photo from your ID with your face. We also use electronic identification and NFC technology to approve some transaction in this in this internet world. There are also, when the banks are working together, they also think about bank identity. So it is common to verify yourself with the login and password from your bank. There's also a nice trend to use PSD2, as the PSD2 also delivers a very unique data which might be used in the process of, for example, credit decision, because it brings all the cash flow of your customers or your companies you're cooperating with. As a vendor, we've got two solutions that we also implemented in banks. One of them is the virtual agent, and the second one is biometrics of the selfie. But of course, if once customer want to use other methods, we also pick it, because we want to be open in that area. As I mentioned, it delivers most of the eKYC verifications, delivers you the same value, because you can see who is who. On the other hand, some of the services can deliver you much more. As I mentioned, this PSD2. Okay, Andrzej, let's move on.
Those services present both convenience and also challenges. Yes, convenience because we have availability in many markets, a lot of services. Now it's better. The prices are falling down. But difficult is because there are no common system accepted by all entities, countries, or regulators. Yes, we also see it in our Polish market. This is a challenge. Yes, we have solutions. Everybody need it, as we see on our pool. Yeah, but we cannot agree which is the best. Yes. However, these plans announced last year, and in the summer, European Commission announced that we will have a new digital ID wallet. Maybe this is help us to fulfill these requirements. Yes. And nevertheless, in the time, yes, it would be great, yes, if we, financial sector, we are as a supporting financial sector, including leasing companies, banking, insurance, yes, would support it, and at least on our local markets, yes, maybe not all in Europe at once, but local markets will have common solution accepted by all players. It would become as a standard solution in our private and professional life. Because we see also that we have in private life, some solutions are better solved. In our business life, we need some additional implementations.
Well, our attendees were also interested in robotic process automation. So this is also the answer how to link these worlds of the new and old technology. So we look carefully at the banks, and what we see that even the players with the old technology stack they offer full digitalized processes. Like, let me give you an example, like opening bank account or selling financial products completely remotely. So I think it's possible to be innovative and fight against the legacy system at the same time. I think the answer for that is robotic process automation. As it becomes more and more popular, it allows to limit expensive integration and helps to build, let's call it, bypasses, where we can see the use of robotics is, first of all, integration customer data bases and front office tools. We can see it with linking back office system and, for example, collection system. We can also see the trend that you can also put migration processes on robotics when you have small amount of data, but you can use it in very, very many cases, so that You don't have to take a look at your all the time at your back and run expensive project in order to get something new at the front. This is always a question for, in banks and company, how we should move on. Okay, so we talked about trends and e-commerce expansion. Now I think we'll go through next point, how to make this process, leasing process, more innovative. And well, as our boss said, it's whatever we do, we should focus on business case. Okay, so this led us to the conclusion that it's good to start with something that earns money. And 3 years ago, we were asked to help one company with e-signature project. Our role was small, but very important, to integrate our front office tool with the qualified signature provider. After workshops, we found out that there's much work to do beside the signing of documents, because it's just a one step of the whole sales process, and companies should actually allow customers to carry the whole process by themselves. We verified the statistics of how the conversion rate looks like in this company, and it was approximately 5.6%. And this is a conversion from the offer till the agreement. So our conclusion was that your process lasts too long, and there are too many contact points with your employees or employees of your vendor. And of course, the process may go further only in business hours, what Andrzej mentioned before. And of course, there is also a conclusion that you may lose your deal because of your competitors, their better price or better offer condition. But to be perfectly honest with you, most of the leasing companies have very limited knowledge why they are losing their deals. This is also a problem. So what we did is we just think about how to increase this conversion rate. So from on our field, we should give the customers an option to start the process when he receives an offer and sign the agreement whenever and wherever he or she wants. And the whole process should be supported with fancy customer journey. And this tool has to remind the customer about most crucial activities he or she has to do. And this customer should be informed immediately about next steps. Of course, it would be perfect if the credit decision could be taken immediately, and should require a small amount of data necessary to put by customer. But if you cannot, for some reasons, take the decision automatically, you should at least guarantee the SLA for the credit decision. And if this all you do, you should make this, customer should have the feeling that he's in charge of this process. And this is basically something that will increase your conversion rate, for sure.
And it looks easy, but of course it's not easy. And also we should take into consideration the customer expects, yes, as Kamil mentioned. And also we need to focus, because there are many of topics, and we should focus on some of them, yes, on selecting specific segments, yeah, specific type of customer, specific type of asset, for which such transaction will increase our lead conversion. Yeah. For the beginning, we suggest focus on simply standardized, repetitive transactions that provide economies of scale. For example, transportation, simple machinery, or agriculture. And we'll be able to transform that into business growth. the focus in this area should be on process simplification. But of course, it's important not to try transfer process as is, as one-to-one from the analog to digital world, because it's a risk of the failure. By this we mean minimizing the information collected about the customer, supplier, assets. This is very important. Because if we already have a sales front that collects this information in the offer phase, we should do everything to make data already available in the application. I'll give you an example from my life. I recently filled out several leasing applications, and only one of 10 had only 5% of the data I was filled out before. I have to repeat again. Yes. The rest of the application I had to fill it out from the scratch. That's life. Real life.
Well, it would be much easier to fill this data for you if you identify yourself, so that it will be possible to use some external data sources or external databases. I mentioned a couple of eKYC methods at the beginning of the webinar, which can be helpful with filling the form, but this is something that we can start with, right, Andrzej?
Yes, right. But sometimes the customer may need support in filling those forms, yes, to ensure that the customer feels good in this online world, yes. He should communicate through this chat video audio tools with selected leasing company employees, sales assistants, who will support him in the sales process. We see from our experience that in banking sector, that having such tools allows financial institutions to be closer to the customer. And as you kindly mentioned, the very important part, of course, is going online is provide the signing online process. Yes, of course, depending on the country. Yes, sometimes you need only advanced electronic signature. Sometimes, as in our country, you need qualified signature.
Yes, of course, but from the customer perspective, from user experience, we should create just one place when you can go through the whole process, so the customer can see the offer, can compare variants of the offer when it comes to the structure of transaction or additional product and services. And we need to give him a chance to fill the leasing application, communicate with the salesman, sign the agreement, settle down the payment. This is something. It's from the customer perspective, it's not a big deal, but of course, for the leasing companies, every single point of this process is something that has to be done.
Yes, I can say for client perspective that's the communication between me and leasing company or me and salesman should be simplified. Yes. Just to me as a customer to a leasing company, but system, not the leasing companies as it is. Yes, I need to contact with the system. Yes, go forward with the process. Yeah? So that there are no more place for additional roles at this stage. Yes, and this is where the experience, the customer experience comes in. You know? When designing changes in such a process, we should always look at the customer, how the customer perceives such a solution. Would such a change be attractive or not for him? It's very important, yes. I see it as a potential client of the leasing company.
Yes, and this is how we started our project with design sprints. So you can see the definition that this is a dynamic method of creating new concepts and solving problems by designing, prototyping, and testing ideas. So in fact, we could do this, and we also can do it remotely with customers when they want to run a completely new system or initiative. But for this particular case, we try to to walk in our customers' shoes. So we produced prototypes. We decided to show our idea to not only leasing companies, but also the people who are actually buying leasing products. And this is what took us a very long time took us a few iterations to show them our prototype and upgrade it whenever they have some problems. So we focused on the customer experience this time.
Yeah, we are building our user story live. As I mentioned earlier, we are doing some research. We receive many variants of calculations, and after receiving those calculations, we have no possibility to finish the offer process by ourselves. We still need to contact the consultant, get more forms to fill out the sign, the contract online, or every often we need to sign contract on site, especially when you are a new client. Of course, only during business hours, of course. We have been going around dealerships, getting printouts on papers, getting sticky note discounts, etc. It was not what we expected in the pandemic time, in the third decade in this century. We're looking at the customer journey here, thinking like him, what drives him, what emotions he has, empathy. And the next step of our work on this product, inventing and redeveloping the service, was a service blueprint. We need to go a step lower and think about exactly is useful to go through a specific customer path. What integrations, algorithms, and backstage actions. I mean, what has to happen in the background for the service to work? What are needed to keep the process as it was at the beginning? I mean, clear, transparent, and user-friendly. As a result of this service blueprint workshop, a precise vision of the end-to-end process is achieved, which shows the common understanding of the parties, I mean, business, IT, external service providers, vendors, or dealers, and allows to start us development work.
Of course, we have to get the money for our investment, Andrzej. So that was something that was.
Yeah, it's not so easy.
It's not so easy. So we have to not persuade leasing companies that they need such a tool, but we also have to convince our owner that this is something that is very, very needed on the market, and we had to also find the top advantages that our system can bring to the leasing companies, and we base on the fact that the conversion rate should increase. So this is like the most important thing. The second one is that we want to save time of salesmen. In fact, we don't want him to be engaged in repeatable activities such as meetings, calls, emails. It doesn't mean that we want to erase salesmen from the process, but we want salesmen to support this process so that customer in majority will can finish the process by himself if he of course receive the offer. It will also be possible to increase at the end sales targets to the guys who have such a tools. I also mentioned about the better control on what customer does during the whole process, and better understanding when we sometimes lose our sales opportunity. because if we don't consider that, I think this is also very something really bad. And what also may be very important for the leasing companies that we will deliver to the leasing company the complete process in very open model. So this is the model where you buy it as a service in the cloud. So when we integrate with your solutions, you just only pay for using, and of course pay for the maintenance in the cloud of this of the application.
I'm going to the more to the product and how we did it. So with subsequent meetings, we are getting closer to being an acceptable version of the product. During the process of creating the initial version, we observed that at the end, the clients expect consider the offer at home, compare several variants, as we mentioned about. Yes, to be in virtual showroom. Yes, sometimes just comparing the tables with numbers with digits, it's not the case. Yes, we talk about showroom. Talk about offer, photo of the financial assets. So to show the client the whole picture, not only, as I mentioned, digits. To be able to complete the file out of normal working hours on any device with the flexibility to stop and continue in the future. To know what is happening with client application. And if he or she doesn't get a decision right away, we'd like to know when it will be proceed. For start a transaction, accelerate decisions by becoming with automated decision. As we mentioned before, the idea is to make customer independent from the seller, the salesman, yes? In case of the positive answer, making ready-to-read documents available as fast as possible. Possibility to connect with chat tools, so we mentioned about it. But also flexibility to choose one of the options of signing the document. It can be a signature, visiting the dealership or office, making an appointment with advisor, signing by the courier. Plus additional options, which is also important as we talk about authentication, or even paying the initial fee using the chosen payment solution.
Well, we are running out of time, and just to summarize, what we are trying to tell you is that you don't have to be ready at this point for fully e-commerce processes. But if you take a look at the process, you may find very useful things and copy some of them ideas to your processes, so that you can, in your offline process, you can develop it. You can, for example, use our tool in order to start with going to be 100% digital. And of course, it doesn't mean that your salesmen are not needed anymore, but they need some more support to compete in this, I would say, tough market where the people are gaining financing very fast, and I think leasing companies should try to fight with their competitors with banks, with any kind of fintechs. And this is, I think, the brief summary of our webinar. And I think I will call Peter to move on to question and answer section. Peter.
Sure. Thank you very much, Camille. And just a quick reminder to the audience, in order to ask questions, you can type them into the box at the top right-hand corner of your screen and click submit. But in the meantime, we have some questions right now. So the first question between both Camille and Andrew, the first question reads, in which business models is your solution available?
Well, the answer is simple. We built our solution in cloud, so we would call it software as a service model. When, of course, some kind of change request, naturally, some of the companies may have change request towards, I don't know, maybe the form of the leasing application is we charge during the implementation. But at the end, we would like to have the subscription model, and of course, we run this whole application on behalf of leasing company in cloud. So this is our model.
Sure. So then, isn't that CRM functionality then in this case?
Yeah, we focus on enhancing this sales conversion, but as I mentioned, we are focusing on the customer itself. Yeah? Somewhere between making an offer and closing the deal. Yeah, so for us, the customer here is the most important part of the process. It gives this conversion deal.
Sure. Thank you, Andrew. So, in which cases would a solution work most effectively then?
Well, we can find the business which is the largest scale. So if you want to increase the conversion, it's best to choose the highest volume of the business, and it will be really measured very fast if it works. So Andrzej also mentioned that we should find the standardized process, and the assets also very simple, for example, to finance, and of course the customer segmentation. We can start with small companies where the flow could be faster. So I would start with something small, but on the large scale. So this is my answer.
Sure. Thank you very much for that, Camille. And one person asked, don't we need simple APIs with which we can create a full digital and cloud-based system environment for leasing services?
Well, in fact, we are predicting that most of this IT infrastructure should be designed like many microservices. So the more services and open services you have in your leasing companies, the more you have more abilities to make new things and to make it more complex. I think maybe it's not the end of the very sophisticated core systems, but in fact they have to change their architecture, and I think this cloud-based approach is the only one we have now.
Mm-hmm. Sure, no problem. That's fine. Thank you very much for that, Camille and Andrew. And just a quick reminder to the audience, if you did not get your question answered, it can be answered at a later date. So that just leads me to thank both Andrew and Camille for what a great presentation, and to Ailleron for sponsoring this event. Now, to all the attendees, you will receive an email shortly on how you can access the on-demand version, or you can access it at our website, www.business-view-webinars.com. We look forward to sharing future webinars with you, so please do keep an eye out on our website as mentioned, and follow us at BR Webinars for daily updates, and join our LinkedIn community group. Just before we conclude, we have just enough time for a final question. So the final question is, one person would like to know some of the clients that use the SAS solution. So do you have information on the impact of KPIs such as time to yes and, in this case, customer conversion of Camille and Andrew?
Okay. Yeah. So as we mentioned here, yes, we are working on this product, quite new product. We are going to the market, and we are now in several sales process. Of course, for now we cannot disclose with whom, but there are inquiries from the international market. That's what I can say now.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Okay, no worries, that's fine. So as I was saying to the audience, follow us on Twitter at BRWebinars for daily updates and join our LinkedIn community group. Once again, thank you all very much for today's session with Ailleron, and hope you all have a very great day. Thank you very much for attending. Sure. Yeah. Wait,
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.